He left me stranded on a dusty Arizona road, the sun dropping fast, and my name still printed on the deed of the penthouse he'd gone home to. I didn't cry. I just watched the taillights fade and felt something stronger than anger. Clarity. The next morning, I called a locksmith, changed the locks, and filed the papers in my own quiet way. That was only the beginning of what came next. Before I begin the story, tell me, where are you listening from today? The sun hit the windshield like a slap. The air conditioner barely pushed a tired stream of cool air, and I could feel the sweat forming under my blouse, even though I sat still. Corbin drove like the road owed him something, his hands gripping the steering wheel too tight, his eyes flicking between the rearview mirror and the endless stretch of desert ahead. He called me Mom once, then Zelma, like he couldn't decide whether he wanted to sound affectionate or in charge. Every time he did that, I knew trouble was coming. "You've been forgetting things lately," he said lightly, not looking at me. "Maybe it's time I handle the paperwork." His words came dressed in concern, but I'd learned to hear the barbs hidden inside. "You don't like the city noise, right?" he added, glancing at me, testing. I watched the mile markers pass and counted how many fence posts stood between patches of shade. Arizona teaches you that kind of math, how to measure distance when water runs low. "You know," he said, tapping his phone, "no bars out here, dead zone." He smiled like it was my fault. He mentioned his penthouse again, calling it my place. I didn't bother correcting him the first time. The second time, I did. "It's on my deed," I said, plain and steady. The silence after was sharp. He took an exit, claiming it was a shortcut to a scenic overlook. I didn't argue. I just noted the turn. The SUV rolled to a stop on a sandy turnout. "Pop the trunk for me, Mom?" His voice went sweet, like he was about to sell me something. I stepped out, the heat punching my lungs. He walked around to the back, fumbled with a gym bag, then shut the trunk and the door locks clicked. He leaned out the window. "I'll be right back. Don't move." The engine hummed, tires rolled, and before I could answer, the taillights were shrinking down the road. I didn't run, didn't shout, I just stood there, breathing. My phone flashed, no service. "If you can't see your mother in daylight," I said softly, "I won't teach you in the dark." I stepped to the white line where the wind from passing cars whipped my skirt and stood straight so drivers would see me. A truck slowed, hazard lights blinking. The driver, Emmett, his cap reading Tulsa Freight, kept a respectful distance. "Ma'am, you good?" he asked. "I'm not hurt," I said, both to him and to myself. He handed me a cold bottle of water. I took a sip, the heat sliding down with it. "Did your boy just leave you out here?" he asked quietly. That question burned worse than the sun, but I met his eyes. "Seems that way." He called dispatch, got directions to a gas station off 179, and offered me a ride. We drove in silence, except for the hum of the rig. "Folks forget who taught 'em to walk," he murmured. I didn't answer. At the Chevron, he insisted on paying for a room across the road. "Pay it forward," he said, tipping his cap before driving off into the dusk, inside the motel. I plugged in my phone. 70% charge, then the flood, 67 missed calls from Corbin, half a dozen texts. "Where are you?" "You scared me." And one picture. Him in the penthouse, champagne glass raised, caption, "Finally home," I whispered. "Home, the one with my name on the deed?" Then I smiled. Small and hard, I opened my purse, pulled out my ID and property documents, and laid them on the bed like cards in a game. By the time I turned off the lamp, I knew what came next. Tomorrow wasn't about revenge, it was about order. I looked at my phone one last time as it buzzed again with his name lighting the screen. I let it ring by 7 in the morning. I stood in the lobby of Ines Caraway's office, the kind of place that smelled of lemon polish and quiet decisions. The receptionist offered coffee with cream and sugar, but I asked for water. Clarity mattered more than comfort. I laid my ID and the deed copy on the counter, both printed and clean. No one here would see me fumbling with a phone like I'd just learned how to use one. Inez came out from a glass hallway, tall, calm, hair pulled back like every word she spoke was measured before release. "You texted me. See you morning," she said. "That's not a request. That's an appointment." We shook hands. Her grip was firm, no pity, no pause. I told her what happened on the road in one sentence. He left me there, then went home to a place that's mine. She listened without blinking, then asked, "You brought everything?" I nodded and handed her the thumb drive, the printed deed, and the county seal. She called in Loretta, her assistant, young, neat, and quick with a pen. "Open a new file," Inez said. "Label it Duval, Penthouse, Owner Actions." We talked through steps, verify the title, secure the documents, schedule lock access with the building. "No phone calls," I said. "Paper first." Inez smiled slightly. "Quiet moves, clean trail. That's how we win twice." Then Loretta turned her monitor. "You should see this," she said softly. The screen showed Corbin's live stream from the night before, him and Sable Hartwick holding champagne in my penthouse, laughing under my light fixtures. Caption, "Finally home." His voice carried through the speakers. My late father left everything to me. The room went still except for the hum of the air vent. I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "Save that." Every second of it. As Loretta recorded the stream, copied the link, and stored it under my name, Inez added. "We'll get timestamps and witness handles. Lies are cheaper when they're loud." I watched the screen one more time and whispered, "If you build your life on a lie, you pay rent to the truth." Inez looked up. "Then let's collect." She called the HOA office, confirming I was still owner of record. Loretta faxed over my ID and deed page. We booked an appointment for the next morning, 9 sharp. The HOA manager would meet me and the locksmith at the lobby. No confrontation. I said, "We walk in like owners." An hour later, Loretta brought back county results. My husband's old refinancing papers, signed by him, named me sole survivor owner. The folder smelled faintly of old ink and glue. I touched my name. The way people touch scripture when they need grounding. "We'll document every step," Inez said. "No shouting, no spectacle." I nodded. "I don't need noise." I told her. "I need keys." When I stepped outside, the Phoenix heat hit me again, sharp and white. I sat in the car, set my alarms for tomorrow. HOA, security, locksmith. My phone buzzed. Corbin's name. I let it go to voicemail. Some things. You answer with silence. By 9 sharp. I stood in the lobby of the Duval Tower. The sun bounced off the glass so hard it made the marble floor glow. I wore flats. Not heels. Today wasn't for showing off. It was for standing firm. The security guard, a young man named Mason, looked up from his monitor. "Morning, ma'am. You here for the HOA?" "Yes," I said, sliding my license and the folded deed copy from my purse. Owner verification. He checked the papers, nodded, and gestured toward a chair. I stayed on my feet. "I think better standing," I told him. My phone buzzed once. "Just Inez checking in." Steady and simple, her text read. The HOA manager appeared a few minutes later, clipboard under her arm. Her walk brisk but polite. "Mrs. Duval, I'm Tamara." She smiled that business kind of smile, friendly but measured. I handed her my file, deed page, HOA dues, tax proof. She flipped through each page, lips pressed thin. "Everything's in order." "Good," I said. "Let's keep it that way." Tamara compared my ID against the county record. Same name, same legal line. "No transfer recorded," she confirmed. Then she glanced at Mason. "Deactivate all non-owner fobs." The guard radioed upstairs, his tone steady. "Proceeding with access control. Owner verified." Loretta called in on speaker, voice quick and clear. "County confirms owner of record is Zelma Arliss Duval." I thanked her and ended the call. No emotion, just relief shaped like silence. Tamara slid a form toward me. Its title stamped Revocation of Access. I read every line, initials neat and slow, when I signed. She aligned the paper and pressed a red stamp at the bottom. Clean. Final. That sound. The firm thump of ink on paper. Felt like air returning to my lungs. "This isn't punishment," she said softly. "It's protection." "I don't want punishment," I replied. "I want peace." An automatic email went out. Access updated. Owner only. No names, just the facts. Mason handed me a temporary badge. "Owner may proceed with vendor." The locksmith arrived right on time. Toolbox gleaming in the sun. "Morning, ma'am," he said. "We'll change the core and reprogram the keypad." His voice carried the calm of someone who fixes things for a living. We took the elevator up together. He talked about the heat. Scottsdale summers don't forgive. I smiled faintly. Neither do mothers. At the door, he photographed the old lock and began working. Screws, clicks, quiet turns, no drama, no noise. The HOA manager stood by. Neutral witness. The old cylinder dropped into a plastic seal bag, labeled for disposal. He held out the new key when finished. Brushed steel, weighty, engraved with a small serial number. All set, ma'am. Old fobs are void. I signed the invoice. Then asked, "Destroy the old cores, please." He nodded. "They'll be melted down by Friday?" I texted Inez. Locks changed, calm. Her reply came fast. "Good, no statements." Standing in my own hallway again, I turned the key once. Smooth, decisive. The bolt clicked like punctuation. "This," I whispered, "is how quiet wins." As I walked back to the elevator, Tamara said, "He usually comes back from the gym around noon. Then the door will tell him the truth," I answered. Outside. I stepped into the parking shade. Sunlight touched the key in my palm, glinting sharp as resolve. Somewhere inside. An elevator chimed, but I was already driving away. I picked a booth by the diner window, right across from the tower. The waitress poured me coffee. Black. I asked for water with lemon, too. Old habits. One hand for heat, one for calm. The tower's glass shimmered in the Arizona sun like it had something to confess. I wasn't going to be in that lobby. I'd taught enough students to know. Sometimes lessons hit harder when you let silence do the work. I texted Inez, "Not on site. Please coordinate with HOA if needed." She answered right away, "Good boundary." I set my phone beside the folded folder. Deed copy, HOA email, vendor receipt, all proof, no emotion. The world outside kept moving. A bus sighed. A tourist took pictures of the fountain, and somewhere a kid laughed too loud. I breathed slow, 4 in, 6 out, the kind of rhythm that keeps your hands steady when your heart already knows how the scene ends. Then it happened. Corbin walked into view, gym bag slung across his shoulder, Sable trailing behind him like a shadow that liked attention. I didn't need sound to know his voice. He swiped his fob at the revolving door. Red light, again, red again. The security guard stepped forward, palm open. Sable lifted her phone but froze mid-motion. I could almost hear the guard. "Access is owner only, sir." Corbin pointed up toward the penthouse, then toward himself. Anger was always his second language. He spoke it fluently. He set the bag down harder than he meant to. Realizing how small a man looks behind glass, the door stayed locked. Polite, but final. "Doors don't lie," I whispered into my coffee. My phone buzzed. HOA text. "Owner revocation enforced. No disturbance." I typed back. "Thank you for following policy." A second ping from Loretta. "Incident summary uploaded. Access deactivation complete." I smiled without meaning to. The work was already done. The paper had moved faster than pride. Sable tried to smile it off, brushing her hair, pretending to find it funny. Corbin shook his head, pointing at her phone, probably telling her to stop recording. She backed off, and I saw something new in her eyes. Realization. Maybe regret. They moved to the lobby seating area, cooling down. I stayed where I was. That was their moment with the door, not mine. Then the second storm began. My phone lighting up like a slot machine. Call, voicemail, text. Again and again, I didn't answer. I just watched the tower's reflection ripple in the diner glass. 12 calls, 26, 41. I turned the phone face down, then up again. 67 missed calls, again that number, as if fate liked repetition. I took a screenshot and sent it to Inez. Her reply came fast. "Save it," no response. Sable touched his arm. He shrugged her off. She walked away. The kind of woman who knows when a story's over. I typed one last message to the HOA manager. If he requests a wellness check, I'm safe and have ID. No contact needed. Understood. Came back in seconds when the waitress asked, "Refill for the road?" I smiled. "No, ma'am, I've had enough." She nodded. We shared that small, quiet respect only women earn with time. As I left, Corbin hit the glass with his palm. The sound didn't reach me, but I saw the tremor. The guard didn't flinch. Policy stood. I merged onto the road, the tower shrinking behind me. My phone buzzed once more and went still. I whispered to myself, "Truth travels even when you don't drive it." The unknown number flashed again that evening. I set the phone on speaker beside my coffee cup. Papers spread across the kitchen table. "This is Zelma Duval," I said, steady. The woman on the other end introduced herself. Local news, evening segment. She wanted my side of the property incident. I gave her my conditions. Facts only, no family gossip. Don't air my voice without my written sign-off. I spoke plain. He left me on a remote road near Sedona. He went home to a penthouse listed under my name. The building enforced policy. That's it. I read my short line. Date and time included. No photos except the deed page. She asked for color. I gave her a locksmith's receipt and HOA email instead. "Documents over drama," I said. She chuckled. We ended on a handshake of words. Attribution to Zelma Duval, owner of record. My final sentence was simple. "I'm not mad. I'm done." The next night, the story aired, the anchor read. "Elder woman reclaims property after roadside abandonment." They rolled shots of the Sedona highway, the desert stretching wide, and the tower entrance gleaming under streetlights. No faces, just places. My voice ran once. "I changed the locks to be safe, not to be cruel. Clean, clear American truth." I texted the clip to Inez. She replied, "Public record helps. Stay quiet." Neighbors messaged, "Saw the piece. Good on you." I answered with emojis. Nothing more. Loretta timestamped the segment in the case folder. Media, segment 1. Owner record. Half the internet wanted to crown me a saint, the other half hunted scandal. I didn't read beyond the first minute. I rinsed my cup, wrote tomorrow's list on a yellow sticky note, and told myself the line I'd told students for years. We do what we can control. We leave the rest on the table. Marjorie Fennick left a voicemail. "If you need me to confirm you're the owner. Honey, I'll drive down myself." I smiled, whispered, "Thank you, Marjorie." Into an empty room. Night was quiet, the kind that feels earned. I took my meds, stretched my back, placed the key on the dish, and let the silence settle. Morning came with habit. Coffee, sunlight. I logged into my bank's secure portal, then called the branch. "This is Zelma Arliss Duval. I need to remove all secondary access and freeze any authorized user cards." The manager recognized my voice. 15 years of small talk turns into trust. She asked my verification questions. I answered. Property tax amount, last deposit, HOA dues, numbers steady as breath. She confirmed. Corbin removed, cards canceled, new ones issued. "You're doing this the right way," she said. I told her. "You don't get paid enough to talk people through heartbreak, but I appreciate it." An hour later, alerts pinged. Declined purchase. Luxury store. Declined withdrawal. ATM near the tower. I forwarded screenshots to Loretta. Declines, timeline evidence. I didn't gloat, I filed. "Documentation isn't revenge," I murmured. "It's housekeeping." I muted the next alert, then looked out the window, light pooling on the envelope with August's handwriting. I traced his name, whispering, "You raised me to finish things right." By noon. My phone buzzed again, unknown number. I let it roll to voicemail. The voice was young, careful, Sable Hartwick. "Miss Duval, I'd like to clear the air, maybe meet. Just talk." I texted Inez. "She wants to meet, parking lot." Seconds later, her reply, "If you go, we go together, with the camera rolling and the paper ready." I exhaled, set the phone face down, and said to the empty kitchen, "Truth doesn't flinch under light." I chose the grocery store lot off Camelback on purpose. Open space, daylight, cameras, the kind of place where nobody raises their voice for long. I parked beneath a shade tree and texted Inez, "Meet by the cart return, 6 feet back, camera on from hello." She replied with a check mark. I tucked the owner folder under my arm and left everything else behind. No purse, no extras, just the papers that mattered. I spotted her silver sedan idling 2 rows over, lens already trained. I took a breath that tasted like metal and desert air. My rule was simple. Greet. State the boundary. Hear one sentence, then walk away. I taught too many young people to confuse loud with, right, this time. I'd let quiet speak. Sable Hartwick's SUV glided in, all Polish and performance. She stepped out in sunglasses big enough to hide regret, holding her phone at her side. "We need to clear the air, miss." "Duval," she said, voice pitched like sympathy. "We'll stay in public," I replied, "and I am recording." I tilted my phone so her camera could see mine. She launched into it fast. "You've ruined his life. Sponsors are pulling back. People think he's abusive, and you won't even speak to him." I said one clean line. "He left me on a deserted road and went home to a penthouse on my deed." Then I let the silence do its work. Sable tried for guilt. "Families don't do this in public." I smiled faintly. "Families don't abandon their elders." She pressed on. "Just turn the locks back on, let him grab his things, and we'll explain everything online." I looked straight through her tinted lenses. "Not today, not like this." Behind me, Inez's voice was steady. "This is a voluntary conversation, recorded for clarity." A mother with a grocery cart paused nearby, watching. She gave me that knowing nod only women of a certain age share. The one that says, "I see you holding the line." I spoke without raising my tone. "Send a written list through the HOA for retrieval with security present, no fob, no surprise visits." Sable hissed. "We'll be civil." "Civility starts with the truth," I said. Then I turned a half step, keys in sight, body firm. "We're done here." My phone rang as I reached my car, Loretta's voice brisk through the speaker. "Zelma, your SUV's dashcam cloud just pinged. I pulled a clip from the day of the highway incident." I froze. Half in sunlight. "Show me," she continued. "Audio's clean. He's in the driver's seat saying, 'No signal out there.' She'll cave." Sable's voice, too. Timestamp confirmed. Inez lifted her phone to catch my screen as Loretta sent the preview. I played the clip low. Wind and parking noise folding around that one line. Proof. Clear and cold. Sable stiffened when she heard her voice echo back from my phone. Her hand twitched toward her camera, then stopped. I looked at Inez. "File it. Full consent to share." I spoke for the record. "I'm the owner of record. I changed the locks for safety. I consent to airing this clip." Sable muttered. "You'll hurt everyone with this," I said quietly. "Truth doesn't hurt, it repairs." Back at Inez's office, Loretta logged every second, file hash, source, timestamp. We sent the segment to the station. The producer replied, "Confirmed for 10 p.m. I sat still. Water cup in hand, calm instead of proud. Outside, the sun dropped behind Camelback and the desert turned to glass. My phone buzzed. Marjorie again. "If they call, I'll vouch." "Thank you," I texted back. "Keep it short." The city glowed pink and steel, somewhere in Scottsdale. A red light blinked uselessly on a dead fob. Morning came soft and slow, sunlight crawling through the blinds like it was afraid to wake me. My phone buzzed non-stop, but I let it sit face down until the kettle clicked. The news anchors were already looping last night's story. My own voice, calm and short. I changed the locks to be safe. Not to be cruel, that was enough replay for one lifetime. I brewed coffee, took my morning meds, and read the HOA report. No disturbances, no new fob entries. I texted back, "Thank you for policy, not sympathy." Then Inez, "No statements today, paper only." I stuck that phrase to my fridge with a magnet. Beside a photo of August smiling in a flannel shirt, Marjorie left a voicemail. "If anyone asks, I'll confirm you're the owner and that security handled things fine." I saved it, whispering, "You always did have backbone, Marge." Loretta logged the news clip into the case folder, methodical as ever. My world had become a trail of digital breadcrumbs, dates, times, files. I wrote a list on a yellow sticky, check bank alerts, check HOA retrieval, consider Sedona by sunset, by mid-morning. My phone chimed again. The HOA forwarded a written list from Corbin through Sable. Clothes, laptop, gym shoes, nothing sentimental. I replied through official channels, approved under escort, owner absent, no drama, no voice raised. At 10:30, confirmation arrived, items removed, cart sealed, signatures witnessed. I let the air go from my lungs in one long line. Some victories sound like silence. Emmett texted. "Heading north later?" I answered. "Yes. Highway 179, same as before," he said. "I'll follow. Daylight's better for healing." I packed a bottle of water, my hat, and one small tin from the closet. August's ashes. I hadn't been ready to scatter them before, but something in me had shifted. Closure doesn't arrive. It waits for you to walk toward it. At the chevron near the exit, Emmett topped my fluids, nodded at my tires, then handed me a look that said, "Steady as you go." The highway stretched ahead in burnt gold and quiet. We drove in tandem, two old souls rolling through the desert, saying nothing because words weren't needed. We pulled off near the overlook where the road curved like memory itself. I told him, 10 minutes alone. He tipped his cap and leaned against his truck, eyes fixed on the sky. I set the tin on the hood, palms flat against the cool metal. You built a life that could hold a storm. August, I said softly. The lid turned with a small sigh, and the ashes caught the wind, floating into the sunlight like forgiveness in motion. I didn't ask for a sign. I just felt the weight leave my hands. When Emmett walked back over, he didn't speak, and I didn't need him to. We sat side by side, watching the sky change color. My phone buzzed again. Loretta's text. A courier delivered an envelope to your doorstep from August, dated years ago, marked, "Open when you need to shut the door." I held the phone for a long beat, heart steady but curious. Some truths have their own timing. As we drove back toward the city, the last light of the day brushed the red rock behind us. I texted Inez. Tomorrow, I read his letter. She answered, "I'll be nearby if you need a witness. Back home." The envelope waited against my doorframe, patient and certain. I carried it to the kitchen table, laid my fingers on the flap, and counted 10 breaths before the first tear slipped into the paper. The sky was still bruised with night when I sat at my kitchen table, coffee cooling beside the envelope. I used a butter knife to lift the flap, slow, deliberate, like opening time itself. August's handwriting curved steady across the page, his typewritten words plain as daylight. He'd written about the penthouse, saying he bought it so you would never be cornered again. No apology, no flourish. Just that one sentence that sounded like him. Practical love wrapped in paperwork. Then came the last line. Protect her. Even from our son. Beneath it, a typed instruction to contact Inez Caraway and finish the plan they had prepared together. A single enclosure followed. A memorandum naming a trust that would preserve my ownership and exclude Corbin and Sable forever. I whispered, "Okay, August, we finish this clean." The words steadied me. I folded the letter, tucked it beside my ID, and texted Inez, "Coming in. Today we execute. By 8. I was in Inez's office. She already had the documents spread like puzzle pieces across her desk. "Here's what we're building," she said. "The Arliss Foundation Trust. You remain trustee, lifetime occupant, and all proceeds after go to women rebuilding their lives." I nodded. "That sounds right." Loretta stood nearby, time-stamping every page. The notary stamped, I signed, and Inez read the core line aloud. "You're safe. He's excluded. The mission's clear." We sealed certified letters to Corbin and Sable, enclosed the revocation history, and marked each one filed and final. I said, "We don't argue with paper. We file it." Inez smiled. She'd learned my kind of peace. At the county recorder's office, the fluorescent lights buzzed like old bees. I took my number, waited my turn, and handed the packet across the counter. The clerk stamped, scanned, and returned the receipt, official, irreversible. The page bore August's name and mine side by side, one last time. I slipped it into a plastic sleeve. My phone vibrated with Corbin's voicemail. I didn't press play. Some sounds deserve their own silence. By late morning, Loretta confirmed the notices were served, and Sable's text arrived. "This is cruel," I typed back. "All contact through council." That was the end of that storm. I drove to the tower one last time. The new locks turned smoothly, the air inside clean and neutral. I left a donation box by the door, extra linens, glassware, small pieces of a life that no longer fit. In the lobby, the guard nodded. I returned it with a quiet, "Take care." Outside, the Arizona sun hit bright. I lifted the key once, then slipped it deep into my purse. "The good you do with a thing," I said softly, "is the only part that belongs to you forever." By afternoon, I was back on the highway heading north. The radio hummed low, and the desert wind filled the car like memory set free. August's empty tin rested on the seat beside me, weightless as forgiveness. My purse held the stamped deed and trust receipt, heavier, but grounding. Somewhere past Black Canyon City, The road opened wide, and I whispered, "I am nobody's lesson on my own map." The horizon stretched clean. Then my phone blinked with a message from the nonprofit. "First mother and daughter arrive next week. Would you like us to record a key ceremony?" I smiled into the wind and kept driving. The road didn't end. It invited